So we're using Streamlabs to do this recording as a test. Obviously, we're still recording locally audio and video, but I just wanted a different option other than Zoom.
Yeah, Zoom was kind of creating a bunch of different problems you were telling me about, just about like different bit rates, and you couldn't necessarily match things up. Do you want to kind of expand on that a little bit? Not that we're trying to on Zoom, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah, I mean, we'll do a little lesson here. So with Zoom, I like that the feed is really constant. It's consistent. It's easy. It's easy, right? All you have to do is log in, send a link, and you're going. There's no extra knobs. But I didn't like the recordings because let's say something happened, and it has before, and let's say we lost a whole bunch of footage. We're getting 720p. I think probably there's a way to get 1080. I've never heard of anybody getting 4K. I don't know if that exists. Maybe it does, and I just don't know. But what I do know is that Streamlabs will allow you to record lossless video. And obviously the audio, there's going to be some loss because you and me both know that it's just, still going over the web. It's not exactly the same. But the quality I could see right now is incredible. And so I'm recording at the lowest quality it does, whatever the stream is giving us. So since we have good internet, it should be really solid. But the next round, when we do episode 13, I'll notch up one and I'll go up another and another and just see how that quality goes.
Yeah, it's all just a little bit trial and error, and essentially all we're using Zoom or kind of, Streamlabs for in this case today is just basically so we can have a connection to each other. Because it's like, if you've only listened to the show on, I don't know, the iHeartRadio app, cheap plug, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever, you may think that Dave and I are in the same room. I think that goes to show what a great job Dave does doing the edit for this. But yeah, we are very much in opposite sides of the country. So to be able to create that illusion over the internet, that's a pretty cool feeling.
It's an illusion. And if you can see, obviously, we're not in the same room, but we could be in the same building. You don't know that.
You never know.
You never know. And recording this one a little late, but you'll get it on time. I think WrestleMania weekend and your week of work kind of knocked you out. I didn't think about it, but then I was like, man, the guy has been using his voice all week, and then Friday is a crazy day for you because it's so much more work than usual. And then you're cheering, even though you're at your apartment by yourself. I know you're still cheering on the event.
Oh, I'm yelling at that TV, man.
Exactly.
So it got to a point where I was so excited all week for WrestleMania. It's just, you got the Hall of Fame Friday night. I'm zipping home as quick as I can. You got, you wake up on Saturday and you get NXT in the middle of the day. And then you get, the first night of Mania. And then the next night is Mania Night 2. And then Monday is the Raw. So it's just like, it's nonstop, man. And when I went to bed Saturday night, I was like, uh-oh. I can feel it because when I go to sleep and I can't connect the dots in my dreams and in my brain, I know I'm getting sick. It's a weird thing. And I wake up the next day and I'm just like, woof, everything had finally just caught up to me. And then lo and behold, the internet's out the entire day. And what do they say? Unplug it and plug it back in, right? So that's what I'm doing over and over again. Nothing's happening. I finally open up the app and they go, oh, we apologize for the inconvenience, but there's an outage in your area. And dude, this was the entire day. I think it went out overnight, the night before, but the wrestling gods were with me because I was fully prepared to, curl up sick in a blanket in my bed and watch it on my phone. And a minute before WrestleMania Night 2 began,
a minute.
Like 1 minute, everything came back on, and I was like, and here we go.
Yeah, you're dedicated. I know you would have done it. And honestly, with phones today, it's a decent experience.
Dude, yeah, I had it on. It was completely fine. Like, there was no delay, no mess ups, and this is just all over 5G. So I was like, dang, it's so crazy that you can do that, But luckily, I was able to watch it on the big screen and crank up the sound. And what a wild weekend it really was in the wrestling world. And the big news coming out of the wrestling world, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, was the WWE has been officially sold to the Endeavor Group for a reported $9.3 billion with a B dollars. What do you think about that, Dave?
So that makes them basically a monopoly. It's now a powerhouse brand of action fighting, if you want to call it that. UFC, you've got PBR, which I've done a bunch of work in. So professional bull riding, you have Ultimate Fighting, World Wrestling, you have IMG models, so you have hot people, you have fighters, you have WWE, Vince McMahon, Dana White, and WME is run by the inspiration for the Ari Gold character, Ari Emanuel. He's the guy who's in charge of it all. And so I saw that Vince is going to have some role, obviously, on the board, CEO or something, still running WWE. He's always behind, pulling the strings with the mustache, which was so weird, so cringe.
Bro, I was going to say.
But I kind of love it.
Why does Vince look like a French dude that robs paintings from art galleries?
Because he can pick him up by himself. He's so strong. I'm just going to take this out of here.
Dude, I guess so. What a look. But what a boss, man. Like, this is something that I never thought that I would see in my lifetime. And we talked about it, way early back in the show. And for like the first few episodes, I think it was January when this started to come about.
Yep.
And it was just a day that I never thought would happen. I never thought there would be a moment in time where the McMahons didn't own, the WWE.
Well, it's coming to that day. I think do you think people are going to cash out on this now that there's been a merger? So this is what I know about, well, I guess it's an acquisition, not a merger. When you acquire a company, a lot of times they're acquiring, obviously, the IP, the talent, obviously, because you can't have events without all the top guys and top girls and all the people involved, writers, everybody who's involved in making the product so good. But I'm thinking about the Triple H's and the Stephanies. I bet you through all this, they had to sign on for X number of years saying, hey, you will be with the company because we need your brains. Part of this acquisition was making sure you're a part of it. We didn't want to just buy a logo and a bunch of, archived video. And so that's pretty common. So I would imagine that Triple H, Stephanie, and them want to stay on. Like, it's kind of what they do. It's their life. But I think at some point they're saying, hey, I want to take the money that's going to be part of this for me.
It's a very interesting time. It's a very interesting time to be a pro wrestling fan. Triple H is obviously the head of creative right now, and he's been doing some incredible things. And as far as what I've read on the internet, which you got to take with a grain of salt, anything on the internet is true, the current creative process is going to stay in place, or at least a lot of the internet wrestling community hopes so. Triple H even cut a promo on the Raw after Mania saying, in less words, I'm here to stay, doing the gig that I'm doing, bringing you the entertainment that I've been bringing you. Nothing is going to change. Everything is going to kind of stay the same. It's just Endeavor now, from my understanding, 51% ownership of the shares of WWE, which is just so crazy.
Wow. To think, I saw another stat on Instagram. Vince bought WWF at the time, it was called, for $1 million in 1982. From $1 million
WWF from his father
to $9.3 billion. And you were like, yo, Dave, can you do the profit margin? I'm like, I don't know, a lot.
A ton, man. It's that whole kind of thing with, Jerry Jones buying the Dallas Cowboys, back for when he did it. And now it's the most lucrative sports franchise on the planet. It's so crazy to think about. And Vince gambled it all, rolled the dice, bet everything, bet the house on WrestleMania 1.
Literally,
and if that wasn't
house.
a success, yeah, then we're not here talking about this big Endeavor acquisition right now. It's just so wild to me, man. Go ahead.
It was you got me thinking of our talk the other night, saying Vince bet the house, and you gave me a nice compliment saying you always bet on yourself. You go all in on what you think is the right thing to do. Even if it doesn't work out, you continue to not flinch and bet on yourself. And obviously it's worked for Vince, and I guess I'm trying to take a page out of his book and saying, you know what? I got another shot in me. Let me try again.
I love it, man. You're not afraid to throw that dartboard at the wall, and wherever it lands, I'm going. And I'm going to make it work, Maybe it's short term, maybe it's long term, maybe this ends up being my home for good. Like, you never know, but you're always willing to throw that dartboard, and wherever it hits, you're like, I'm going to go to Nashville with you for a while, and I'm going to, work on things there. I'm going to go to, North Carolina. I'm going to go back to Maine. I'm going to go to Boston. I'm going to go to Alabama. I'm going to go to Southern Cal.
I should have set up a map, because I want to throw a dart at the wall, but I mean, my map would be just covered in holes.
That means you're shooting and taking chances, bro. And nobody takes chances like you. Like, for real.
Appreciate
you've
that,
always,
bro.
Yeah, you've always bet on yourself. Even I look back sometimes and I'm like, damn, for Dave to be ready to go off to college like that. Like, it might sound silly to some people, but growing up in Portland, Maine, in a relatively, kind of sheltered environment, not really understanding what else the world had to offer, for good or for bad, and for you just to say, I'm going to go as far as I possibly can away within the country, and I'm going to spend the next 4 years there. That's just total badass, dude. And then not only with college, but to do that for different gigs and different jobs and different, just different adventures throughout the way. It's super admirable. And I think, for those hearing this right now, you do have what it takes. Bet on yourself.
Yeah, you should.
You're worth more. Go for it, right?
You totally should. And I know we get into these like motivational spurts because they help each other. Like you and I. Receipts, MFers. It helps each other, because I was really at a point the other night where I was just like, dude, I can't talk to anybody else about what I'm thinking about. And, it wasn't dark or anything. It was just, I feel very much at like a crossroads, and, at 36 going on 37, to be in a place like that, even for me, even though you see that every time I come across on video and audio, I am very confident. I am. That doesn't mean that everything is all together and on track. Far from it. I think that's true of any person you see. No matter monetarily, whatever they've got, there's always something going on. And, thank God my health is good. And if I wake up with my health, I'm grateful for anything else that happens after that. That's like, and I was talking to you about my knee, because I'm doing 75 hard again with Matty B, and my knee is just, it's not working the same. Got to stretch a little extra. We'll get into that in a second. But I just realized, like, it's great to have a best friend like you that I can tell this stuff to as a sounding board, because you don't want to make big decisions, and I think I'm coming up on a big decision here in my life once again. You don't want to do that on your own. I'm not saying you have to take that person's advice, but I'm saying it's always good to get it, because it's better to have those inputs before you make a decision than to just only do what's in your own mind. You just need to see it from another perspective.
Right, and you don't want to make those decisions emotionally. Some of the worst decisions I've ever made were just drop of a dime, emotional decisions where you say what you probably shouldn't have and what you necessarily didn't mean, and your actions were just way over the line. And that's why it's like, okay, hold on, let me recoup, think rationally, give me my pros, give me my cons, and then make a rational decision. And I think you've been doing that for a long time, and you're coming up on another big one from what you kind of been hinting to me. I don't really know the whole story.
Well, you're not going to get it all here, but it's going to come out soon. It's just
I was fishing, bro.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
fishing.
No, I see you. I know you interview people for a living, and you're like, oh, maybe Dave will just like start telling us everything.
Just leave it open-ended and let them kind of...
It's all just media. I mean, it's really all career-based. I'll leave it at that because at this point in my life, that's what I'm focused on. Basically, 100% of the time is, getting my house in order in my career. I feel like it's the last thing. Look, I've done a bunch of work. I'm not saying that I'm just a little unfulfilled right now. And so I'm trying to make sure that the next thing I put in place is a building block toward a foundation, not just another rental property that I just put up like in Monopoly and move on to the next thing. Like this next thing is going to be permanent, whatever it is.
Yeah, you want more of a permanent, not kind of well, this is just for now. And when you said fulfillment, immediately I got this visual in my mind. And there's a few different fulfillment jars. There's your personal life fulfillment, which
right.
can, be relationships, friendships, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. And then you have your work and your creative side. And I've always thought of you as a person that kind of looked at both of those glasses kind of half full all the time.
For a long time. Very true.
Yeah. So which one of it is kind of and that's the game, isn't it? That's the game right there. Trying to get both of those to the same level of full is, oh my goodness, it's nearly impossible.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's really well said. I like the fulfillment jars. It's a good visual. I think both of mine in my mind are empty right now. And
really?
It's like I finished the documentary and I felt depleted. Not that I didn't have more ideas, but I felt like I have all this skill, have all this energy, but I don't know where to pour it. What do I pour it into? It's like a analysis paralysis. I wouldn't say it's quite that, but it feels like that sometimes. And then, personal relationships are all good. Romantic, I'm not even ready for that. That's like, I got to figure this thing out first and get a little stabilized because
yeah.
I wouldn't want some girl dating me right now. It would be terrible because you would never see me.
Where'd you go, Dave?
Oh, look
all
at the time. Yeah, every morning.
Geez.
I mean, as it is right now, I get up, do my workout because I just started 75 hard. This is day 2. I'm finishing with Matty B. Couldn't leave Matty B hanging by himself. He calls me Sunday night, goes, it's like 10 p.m. Hey, man, you want to do this again? I'm like, well, if you're doing it, sure, let's go.
I've never tried it, but I'm starting a different program next Monday. It's called 75 Soft. Have you come across this one?
I don't think I've heard of it.
I hear it's real tough, man. So.
Or soft. So, I'm doing that. I'm just not focused on any kind of romantic relationships, which has kind of been like a peripheral theme of the show. I'm just really focused on career stuff. And I always think that I've met the best women when I was in my element, doing my thing, and thriving and doing well at work or playing sports. I think that you're more attracted to someone when you just see them doing well in their element.
100%, dude. I can't tell you how many different women I've met that I wouldn't have even approached or even tried to talk to if I wasn't doing a live remote broadcast for the radio, or I wasn't out DJing an event or hosting and emceeing a fashion show or whatever it might be. There's something about the confidence that being within your element that it brings you. I would talk to anybody. It didn't matter, because I was kind of wearing a mask the whole time. So rejection didn't matter.
Yeah. You're like, I'm busy, so take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to bring up, and I kind of did, was my old knees, both of them.
Yep.
And I'm not going to even try to describe the symptoms, but my left knee just was working not as well as usual. I could feel it. I went about a quarter mile and I said, nah, I got to walk. I wish I was 23, man, because I could just, whatever, I'll just keep going, no problem. And now I got to stretch for like 5 minutes.
And this was so surprising for me to hear because I know just several weeks ago you were dunking a basketball and you had been working on that for a long time. So now to hear that, oh gosh, my like left knee is like in rough shape. Do you think it's because a lot of the drills and stuff you had to do to be able to accomplish that?
I think it's mostly just I've been sitting. I haven't been as active consistently, so I went from constantly jumping, running, lifting to sitting and like walking, and so I got to build the strength back up because I can do a full squat. I got full range of motion. I can just feel it's a little tender, and it's probably just yelling at me like, "Hey, why are you sitting all day? What happened to moving around? That was fun." So
isn't that so weird, man? Just as we get older, not old. And this is something that we kind of discussed talking about. It was when you're young and you're in grade school, right? And you're kind of looking at even high schoolers. You're like, wow, gosh, they're so old. And then you look at like your parents and you're like, golly, are they old? And then you get to become their age and you're just like, wait a second, I haven't even lived half of my life yet. What do you mean old? And I think it's because over time and over different generations, the life expectancy has just continued to go up and go up and go up and go up. And now it's like the people that we looked at, like, for example, somebody in their, 40s, you're just like, wow, you used to think that's so old. No, that's getting old. That's not old anymore because people are going to start living to 100 years old as it's just like a regular part of life, as like technology and science and health advances,
I don't know how old I want to be. I want to be as old as I feel good. I mean, I don't want to feel like, man, today's going to be a whole production just to like get down the stairs. Like, all right. At that point, just put me on like a nice island and I'll figure it out for myself. And like, if I make it, I make it. If not, at least it's on an island.
Yeah. I've always had this like, and not to bring down the mood of the show, but I've always had this like morbid thought of I'm going to die young and that way I'll always be remembered. Yeah.
But then what if young becomes 70 when people are like, oh, 70's young. And you're like, well, I kind of meant younger.
Yeah, dude, that's a really good point. I don't know, man. I'm 36. I got a back like I'm 86, and hopefully I'm going to get that fixed up soon.
Good.
I just went and saw a second surgeon to get a second opinion. They're sending me to a third one who's doing this like newer procedure where they kind of like they go in and they burn off the nerves. So your spinal cord doesn't, send it to your brain that, hey, that hurts, stop. Because right now, my everyday life is just like this.
All day, huh?
Hey, guess what? You're still in pain, you son of a bitch. I'm not going anywhere. Does that hurt putting on your socks, old man? Well, good luck putting on your shoes. How about some Velcro, you sissy? So and that's what he sounds like in my mind too. It's very it's very
that's a place
detrimental
I don't really
to my
feel like
mental
living.
health. Yeah, it's brutal, man. But yeah, he's doing this like newer surgery that not many. I think there's only one doctor within my insurance will cover that's doing this type of procedure. So it's either that or the fake disc, which I heard they go in from the front. So that's kind of freaking me out. But my problem.
Whoa.
Yeah, my problem with going in and burning off the nerves, and tell me if this makes sense or if I'm just being stupid, because not feeling this pain anymore would be magnificent. It's been like this every day, 365 for 3 years.
Wow.
Okay? So my thing was, Dave, if you're driving down the highway and you have a flat tire, but you just cut the cord so it doesn't tell you on your dash that you have a flat tire, guess what? You still have a flat tire. You're still doing damage to that car. So the problem for me is it's not fixing anything mechanically. It's just telling you that there's not a problem. Now, the doctor has said that your disc is just so squished down that it's not going to get any worse. Eventually, when you get older, it'll fuse itself. I'm like, well, that's reassuring.
Self-fusion? That is crazy.
Self-fusion, bro. Haven't quite figured out cold fusion, but self-fusion, I'm getting there. And so I'm like, okay, well, the fake disc kind of makes more sense because that's a mechanical fix. That's putting a new wheel on the car physically. So I'm kind of torn on which way I should lean. And I've been Googling this and WebMDing this, and of course if you
WebMD, it says you're already dead.
Yeah, you come across every terrible scenario possible. But yeah, next month I'm going to be going to see this neurosurgeon, and I'm going to come up with a plan, and I'm going to stick to it, and we're going to execute it, and whatever I kind of feel is best, I'm going to do, because I just want to play basketball again. I want to be able to wrestle again and shoot a double leg, single leg, like firemen's. I miss that stuff, and I've gained so much weight that it affects me in ways where I'm not filming myself as much as I possibly should. Like for work, I should be doing a video every day, but I'm like, gosh, I don't feel quite right, and I don't look quite right, and I don't want people, it's... So it really messes with you, psychologically.
Because it's something out of your control. You can't just work out to fix it. Now, the first thought I had was, all right, if they burn off the nerves, would that allow you to build the muscle around it because you're not feeling the pain? And would that somehow correct it?
Yeah, well, because again, the disc won't get any worse. So it's just about strengthening the back and the core. And having a personal trainer the last 6 months, we did core every single day. Still don't have a goddamn ab, right? Because you can't see it because I have all this extra fat on me. And that's not because I eat so boring. Like,
you do. And I feel like I definitely was a big factor in that, showing you like, hey, just stick with like your chicken, your rice, your peppers. Like, don't really change it up much. I keep it simple, dude. And I recently started making myself breakfast again, and I was skipping that because I was gaining all this weight, and it's not because I was eating so terribly. Now, don't get me wrong. I'll indulge from time to time, right? Like, just I hear that.
The other night, I'm sitting here in bed, and I'm tossing, and I'm turning, and in my mind, all I can think about is McDouble, no pickle, no mustard.
Dude, you're killing me right
now. I'm like, damn, because there's a Mickey D's, a hop, skip, and a jump, man. I could walk down there 4 or 5 minutes. But I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And I ended up just downing a bunch of water. And then I'm up pissing the whole night. So it's tough, man.
Night away.
Yeah, because I can't run. I can't, because that's just up and down. There's no shock there, as you've explained it before. So hopefully I can get that fixed and be back to myself. And it doesn't just affect me at work. It affects me in my personal relationship with my lady, where I'm like, when I met her, I was in the best shape that I had ever been in. I would take my shirt off at the beach or at the pool or around her, and bow chicka wow wow, but now
right.
I'm just like self-conscious about it, and that sucks as a man, because you're supposed to be that alpha. You're supposed to be that Brock Lesnar.
Bro,
and I feel more
like I saw a clip of Raw, because I wasn't like really watching it, but I saw a clip of Brock on Raw, like beating up Cody. Was that from last night, or was that from a year ago? I was very confused.
Yeah, that was from last night, man. That was a tough. I was like, you're really gonna put my two favorites, like, make one of them just jump and attack the other one? Gosh, dude, I was so upset. I was so bummed out. But I'm like, can't count out the American Nightmare. So now I'm like, 24 hours removed, I'm like excited to see Brock versus Cody. And now we're going to hopefully get the answer of why, Brock? Why'd you do it? Or if I could do my best, Jim Ross here for you. Why, Triple H? Why, you son of a bitch? Do you have no heart? Do you have no soul? You rotten son of a bitch.
That was
Jim
pretty
Ross
good,
had
bro.
real beef with Triple H, bro. And that's how I feel right now with Brock, because he's like one of my top dudes, and now Cody's here, and I'm so excited about it. I'm like, damn, they're going to be a tag team. Nope. Cody got taken to Suplex City, man. So we got to see the why, which is the story. We got to see what's going on, you know?
Well, so I'm glad that they kept it going, because, I mean, we both watched the finale match, and it was a great match. I think for me, day one was more exciting. Day two was, it took me a while to get into day two, but I did. There was a couple really great matches. The Edge and the Demon Finn, that was a cool one. But I'm thinking now, I was watching that final match, go, okay, well, Cody lost, and now, of course, it doesn't mean he's gone. It just means that road is not done, and they're going to keep building it to, another event.
Right. Well, two things. I knew we would be talking about it again here soon enough. And the other is, you mentioned the Finn Balor and Edge match, the Hell in the Cell match. Finn ended up getting 14 staples in the top of his head.
Dang.
So if you recall, at one point in that match, Edge throws a ladder at him.
Yeah.
And it actually clipped him on top of the head, but he's all covered in paint, so you couldn't really tell. But the camera kept cutting away. And Edge is just trying to buy time, and they have to, nowadays stop the match and take care of the talent, which is the right thing to do. But of course, fans, boo, boo.
Yeah.
And Finn, he's like, no, let me go. Let me compete, let me do my thing here. But yeah, he ended up getting 14 staples in the top of his head, man. And I got to, agree with you. I thought Night one was just outstanding. Every match was an absolute banger after banger, to steal a line from Sheamus, fella. We got to mention poor Shane McMahon. Guy comes out for the big surprise return, night 2, not even 2 minutes in, tears his quad
That's
off the
what
bone.
happened. Because what's up with that family and quads just having no luck?
Bro, Vince, he
No
tore
luck.
both of them, because he tore one, tried to stand up because I'm Vince McMahon, damn it. And then tears the second one, sitting there on his ass just yelling at people. They're like, what is going on?
What do you want us to do?
Shane starts doing his little dancing around, and they're like, oh, look at Shane. He hasn't lost
One jump.
Done.
Right when they say he hasn't lost a step.
But we got to take the hat off to Snoop, and this has been the big, praise on Twitter. Dude stepped up. He's an entertainer. He understood what was going on and just came up with another plan. Pretty much just punched Miz's face off.
So
Gave
great.
him the people's elbow through the glasses. Dude,
When he
it
was
ended up
looking
being
for the
real
thing,
entertaining.
He's like, oh,
Yeah.
I got these.
So good, dude. Yeah, Mania was great. That main event, night 2, gangbuster, so good. And I was like, Cody's got it. He's got it. This is it. The American Nightmare. He's going to do it for his dad. He's going to do it for his fans. He's going to do it for his family. And then we the ones.
A cheap shot. I would have liked to see a better cheap shot, because especially
think?
watching in slow-mo, I'm like, that's what did it?
And Solo had already gotten thrown out once.
Right. I like that he came back. I thought that was cool, because I was like, okay, well, it was quick, but he just chopped him in the chest. I'm just like,
Well,
something more.
Right. I feel you. Let me break down that move for you and why devastating and why it's so devastating. So it's essentially a thumb. And this is a move their relative Umaga used to do. Rest in peace. And it was called the Samoan Spike. And he would drive the thumb into your throat. So that's why that move is so impactful and big and hurts so much.
I see.
So, yeah, for not knowing what that move is, it looks like he just smacked him in the chest, when really he drove his thumb into his throat.
So he's causing him, have a hard time breathing, and then Roman takes you out. I mean, after that, okay, yeah, I can get it.
Who's going to beat Roman Reigns? Who's going to stop the tribal chief? Who's going to defeat the head of the table? We all thought it was Cody.
3-way match, Cody, Brock, and Roman. That's what I want to see.
Man. When Brock did that, when he did that F5 on Cody, I thought Brock Lesnar's not joining the bloodline. That doesn't make any sense. But then again, there's that 20-plus year history with Brock and Paul Heyman. But then I was like, nah, Brock is doing this for his own reasons. We just don't know what they are yet. And that's the power of, weekly TV and storytelling.
Yo, the way he lifted up Omos, I thought he legitimately got hurt. I knew the guy was heavy, but I thought he was hurt. And then he tried to lift him. And then for real, he was like, okay, I got to try this again.
Yeah, Omos is he's a big son of a gun. Golly, the Nigerian giant.
He's honestly at the same height as Andre. They bill him at 7'4".
Wow. And he's probably not that shy of it, bro. I'm sure he has, even being that big. And this is show business, He's got some lifts in the shoes. He's got some heel on the boot, just to give him that little bit, that little bit extra, just to look even more imposing on camera. Yo. But dude, going into that match, I literally thought Brock was gonna, Brock's kind of, he's gonna wrap things up here soon, and he's gonna help out some of the new guys and kind of go out on his back like a true pro. But gosh, Brock pulled out the win. There were so many standout matches. Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair probably put on, it's got to be right up there with the main event of night one as like the match of the weekend. And the main event of night two was outstanding as well. But gosh, Charlotte and Rhea just put on an absolute classic. Easily the best women's match that I have ever seen. One of the better matches I've seen, period, no matter what gender in recent memory. And I wanted to bring up this point to you because a lot of folks are shaming Charlotte for what she did after the match. And I didn't know if you noticed anything.
When she was sitting there laughing?
When she was kind of sitting there smiling and kind of just, proud of the match they had just put on and proud of Rhea and their accomplishments. People thought that even in a moment, and I read a bunch of tweets like this, that even in a moment like this that was supposed to be about Rhea, Charlotte had to find a way to make it about herself. Do you buy that?
I don't, because she's not controlling the camera cuts. They're showing her. You don't have to show her.
Right.
It was like the shot of Cody, that iconic shot of Cody, after with Roman holding up the belt. What a great shot.
Man, he's like, I'm sorry. And dude, that just broke my freaking heart, man. It's still real to me, damn it.
It was a cool event. And dude, I watched every match both nights.
I was really surprised. You were like, bro, Mania's on this weekend, right? I'm like, you damn right it is. Let's set you up with Peacock here and get you going. And because, dude, you don't really watch wrestling really ever. But it's kind of like, it's Mania. It's in front of 80,000 people, 2 nights, SoFi Stadium, sold out. It's like, it's a happening. It's a big deal. And we're going to get a lot of questions about it come episode 15 for the podcast.
I wanted to be ready for the wrestling questions. Wanted to say, I watched it, I saw it, I have an opinion. It's not just JR's opinion. I have one of my own.
So overall, as like a very, casual wrestling fan, once a diehard in a very short window, what was your overall enjoyment factor and what was your ultimate takeaway from WrestleMania weekend?
Thought it was very entertaining. I think it moved along well. Night 2 moved a little slower, and I think that was just because it's the issue you always have with, especially with a 2-night event. We've got so many matches. How do we fit them in? Where do we put them? You don't know how the crowd's going to react, the energy. The entrances were all pretty amazing. Seth Rollins, I think, had the best entrance.
That was pretty damn cool.
Although the pianos for, I can't remember who.
Roman.
That was a cool factor.
But tell me about when Cody comes out and how electric that crowd was. And when it gets to the point in his song where it goes into the whoa, and he aims back and that pyro, 80,000 people screaming, whoa!
But
unbelievable.
as cool as that was, the most underrated entrance was Rey Mysterio in the car with Snoop.
Dude, how sick was that?
And that match right there, I think, was the sleeper match, him versus Dominic. And Dominic looks good.
Dude, he's improved so much over the last year, especially after getting involved with Judgment Day. Just him being this bad guy and Dom having, went to prison for a while. And prison changes a guy, clearly, like it did him.
All the shots they had in the package inside the prison, I'm like, all right, it looks cool, but come on, all right.
It was so dramatic, And he caught, dude, it was just, I think that, you're right, that was definitely a sleeper. And I think as the days got closer to Mania, I got more and more intrigued. And what really flipped the lid for me was when they're doing the Hall of Fame and Ray's up there and he's about to start his speech. And Dominic gets up and walks out. And the boos just start raining down. And I was like, okay, the Hall of Fame is supposed to be very matter of fact. So the fact that they're going to somehow turn this into the story, it's WWE, so I'm not surprised by that, but I was a little bit surprised by it. Yeah, I was surprised.
I was surprised too watching that clip. Well, especially because now that we have so much on social media and we have like the shot you shared with me of, what was it, Drew McIntyre and Sheamus, like we got to get some pints and they're just laid out because they've, exhausted from wrestling. And then there's a shot of Ray and Dominic after, celebrating because it's a big accomplishment. I think I like that I can see both. I get that I'm watching the show. I get that I'm invested in the story, but I also understand that these are people and they are not the wrestler all the time.
Right, and you know how to suspend disbelief in that moment to say, well, hey, I understand that Robert Downey Jr. isn't really Tony Stark, but guess what? For these next 3 hours, he is. And I'm going to suspend that disbelief, and I'm going to buy into it because it makes it so enjoyable.
It does. Yeah, and I mean, it's like, imagine if a movie was just every week, all the time. That's what WWE is. That you never know when the movie stops and starts. The line is completely blurred now, and that's part of the genius of it.
Yeah, man, it's like, baseball, there's an off season. Football, there's an off season. Everything, hockey, there's an off season. The WWE, no days off, bro. It's just, that's why I always say that silly thing. It's the only thing that's never let me down because it's just always there. Every single week, and I'll be a WWE fan for the rest of my life, no matter what.
4444 life.
The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order. New World Order.
You saw that Instagram post I shared with you. Dennis Rodman was getting interviewed on something, and it had his little lower third saying, 5-time this, 10-time that. And the bottom it said former NWO member, and DDP was like, somebody used to tell this host that it's for life.
For life.
Former. Clearly you don't watch wrestling.
Dude. Yeah, you can't give back your NWO card. Once you're NWO, say it with me. You're NWO for life. People don't get it, man.
Wrestling's everywhere, man. It's everywhere. And I think the cool thing about it now is it's way more acceptable in every social circle. Somebody's seen a match or heard about this guy or watches casually or checks out Mania. It's become much more like music. It's like I listen to pretty much every genre. I've at least heard of people in the top 40, even if I don't listen to them regularly. And it's not even a guilty pleasure. It's just something I look forward to. There's a big event, and especially if you're hyping it, I'm like, all right, well, maybe I'll watch one Monday Night Raw just to see what's going on.
Well, it's so cool, man, because this is exactly the way that I remember it during like peak Attitude Era when we would come to school every Tuesday, did you see what happened on Raw? Or every Monday, did you see what happened on the pay-per-view? Oh my God, this, and this. But that wasn't just happening in schools. That was happening at every office building, at the water cooler across the country, dude. And now it's becoming like, for a while, it was kind of like, oh wait, you're a fan? I'm a fan. Okay, well, okay, yeah.
Do they know about it? No, just you and me. Okay.
No, just you and me. All right, we're going to be friends. But now it's just like, of course I watch. Yeah, and everyone's like, oh, I caught that. I saw that on Instagram. Or I saw that on this. I saw that on that. Because, dude, going back to that bit with Dominic walking out on Ray, that was viewed like tens of millions of times before the match even happened the next day. Like, that's how impactful WWE is with social media. And nobody does video packages like them. That was one of the things I wanted to ask you about. Before every match, even though you hadn't watched in a long time, you got this 3, 4, 5-minute hype piece telling you about the story, why they're going to fight, why it's important, what's on the line, and then the bell rings. Like, what did you think about the pre-production and the video packages WWE put together?
Well, imagine you're watching these matches with no promo trailers. And you're like me, you haven't watched all year. Oh, I think I know who these guys are. Well, I don't know why they're mad at each other. I guess they had a match scheduled. So, yeah, you have to have these promos and trailers. And it's like doing soap opera times 1,000. And there's pyro and lighting and there's fights. Like, that's what it is. And they do such a good job of hitting only the important story points, and that's all they show you. They don't give you all the context. They just say, this happened, therefore this happened, but also this happened, and therefore, because all that happened, they have to fight at WrestleMania.
Damn right they do, in front of 80,000 people. It's just, I just love WWE, dude. Nobody does it like them, and I was so pumped to get you to watch it. And now that I know, the next big show, the next premium live event is going to be out in Puerto Rico. Ho.
And this reminded me of the other thing they do so well is they start promoing during their big event for the like they're already like, coming up. And I'm like, here we go. There's got to sell tickets for the next one.
Oh yeah. And this is going to be a big event, dude. I think I was reading, somebody sent me on Instagram, I think it was my buddy Roper's, sent me this thing where like the next 3 premium live events are all going to be out of the country, which is a huge deal. So they got one coming up in Puerto Rico. Money in the Bank is over in the UK. There's just show after show. It's literal, dude, it's a global entity.
Expand the audience and think about what I want to know, and I'm sure somebody at WWE knows, is how many Peacock subscriptions were sold this past weekend.
Man, that's going to be an interesting thing because I believe the Peacock deal is up in about another year. I think sometime next year. And with this big purchase from Endeavor, what's going to happen? Because if you think the current model that they have in place with the UFC, which also is owned by Endeavor, is you pay your $7.99 a month for your ESPN Plus, but then you're also paying like $70 per like every pay-per-view. And it's like us WWE fans have been spoiled for so long since, the conception of the WWE network, where we can pay $10 a month and we get pretty much an unlimited, vault just full of anything and everything we want to watch, including old shows and pay-per-views, and we get every upcoming premium live event. So it's like, what's going to happen with that? Like, where do you foresee it going?
Well, it's twofold. WWE has succeeded because they're going for volume. They know everybody likes their product to an extent, and they think they can get you and me to like it a little bit more. Even you, who's like, I love it. Whatever you put out, I love it. They still think you can get a little more. For me, they're like, we can get you to watch Mania. And if we can get you to watch Mania, we can get you to watch some other stuff. If they went to the UFC model, they'd lose people like me because I'm only going to get invested for this one big event. And they also do a good job with UFC. It's numbered because they are really fighting. There's no script. It's prepare for your opponent and see what happens. So that's different. They can't say like, hey, every year annually, it's the big UFC Mania. Like, they just can't pitch it exactly the same way.
They kind of sort of have that, like the first ever UFC and then UFC 100.
Sure,
UFC
but that's so
200.
It's so infrequent. And if they, because like they charge like similar to boxing, what you said, like $50, $70 for a premium event, it takes it out for a lot of the folks who are just, I just work a 9 to 5. I don't have $70 for every event. I'm just going to go to the bar, go to a buddy's. I'm going to find a different place to watch it. So it prices some people out. And I think it's one of those factors that is limiting their reach. Even though Ultimate Fighting is global, no doubt.
Oh, yeah.
I would bet, without looking at the numbers, that WWE, which has been around longer, has a lot more fans than them watching.
Our buddy Corey has been really trying to get me back into UFC. And I think what you just said clicked it in my mind perfectly is, wow, what was the word you said? You kind of, like, the amount you would have to pay kind of tapped you out.
It prices you out.
Priced me out, exactly. Yeah. So I was thinking, like, well, if they had more of a similar model to WWE, where it was like you pay this monthly subscription, you get their unlimited library from the past, go back and watch all your favorite fighters and fights, but then you also get every upcoming premium live event or pay-per-view, as they still call it, that would make a lot more sense, and that would probably get me way more invested in UFC. But for the fact that I got to pay $70 a month, it's like it definitely prices me out. And I know with the WWE, I'm going to get entertained no matter what. With the UFC, it's like you don't know how the fights are going to go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. You can build up an Undertaker brand for 30 years, and then you can continue to sell the merch. You're very limited on the merch with the athletes in the UFC because some last a long time and some last, a few fights. It's really all over the place. So I understand why they have to do it because it's, that's their revenue model. But that is part of what I do like talking about is like, how do these businesses run? How do they get revenue? How do they market their athletes? It's pretty interesting. But yeah, I'm glad we got to talk about the Mania because it was awesome. I enjoyed it thoroughly. It was fun. It was a good weekend.
Yeah. I think one of the last things to wrap up the Endeavor, UFC, and WWE stuff is our pal Corey's always telling me about these guys and these girls and how incredible they are. And, oh, my God, wait until you see this person. And they're so good at this and they're so great at that. But then it's like, but where's Conor McGregor? Like, that's just what I keep asking. And it's like the other side of that fence is, well, where's John Cena? Where's the Rock? Where's Roman Reigns? Where's Stone Cold Steve? So it's like so many WWE superstars are able to cross over into the mainstream and do television and film and appearances and podcasts and you name it. And it's like very few UFC stars I kind of think do that. The only one that really comes to mind is Conor McGregor. And then you have Ronda Rousey, but she's doing WWE now. You had Anderson Silva before that. You have John Jones. I don't know, man. It's like it's just
here's the
very
reason.
Much yeah.
The reason
please.
is because part of your job at WWE is you have to be great on the mic. It is part of your job. You don't have to be great on the mic to pummel people. You can just be a dominator. Right?
60 G's, baby.
Like that's facts, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just they're built differently.
Yeah, and that's why competitors like Conor McGregor are so rare. And You know the old saying, there's only one Conor McGregor, and there's no fighter better.
Yeah, that old saying. It's a good one.
I think one of the last things I wanted to bring up on the show is I was scrolling through YouTube, as I often do, and then I came across this headline, and I know what a big baseball fan you've always been. And it said, and I thought this could be kind of like an interesting ongoing bit, just reading different titles of YouTube videos, which are made to want to make you click on it, right? And it was something along the lines of, the MLB's new rules are saving baseball, and people hate it.
I love that.
Like,
I watched the
what?
video. Great video. I love that account,
what I'm talking about.
too. Baseball doesn't exist. It's a great account.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, look, I am one of those people. I don't like the new rules, but it is making baseball better. It's taking me a while to come around to the idea that anything in baseball is timed, because it's the one sport where there is no clock.
Yeah. That's why it was always so tough for me to watch. I'm like, nothing's happening.
Okay, but
nothing is happening.
Are you more interested to watch?
Well, see, I don't even know what the new rules are. I just knew that there were new rules implemented, but I think the only one I know about off the top is like a pitch clock. Is that right?
There's the pitch clock. Yeah, you have 15 seconds to get it to the plate, or you have 20 seconds as a pitcher if there's a runner on base. The batter also has to, there's a lot more to this, but the basics are, and then the batter has 8 seconds. I think within 8 seconds of that clock, the batter has to look at the pitcher and in the box and be ready. So I'm like, there's too much to keep track of. I like that the games have sped up.
There's a lot of stopwatches out there.
The games have sped up. There's somebody's job literally is to restart that clock every single time. And it's like a clock, like it's a big clock. You can see it. And the ump is looking at it, and it's one extra thing I think is probably making the umps worse at making calls. I don't know. It's not perfect yet, but of course it's not. It's brand new to the major leagues. It's been in the minor leagues for a while. I just don't like the idea of things having a timer. I grew up playing and loving baseball with no clock. It's taking away the chess game of if somebody's on first, I can't throw over as many times as I want anymore. I only get to do it twice. You know what that means? On the third time, that guy's going to steal the base. He is just waiting. Lift the leg. I'm gone. So more stolen bases. The bags are bigger. They look like pizza boxes. They're huge.
Wow.
They extended them a few inches, so they're bigger. I mean, it's if you went to a game now, you wouldn't really notice. But it's just a fact. So, look, I'm still going to watch baseball. I still love baseball. But this is my time to complain. I will complain all season about it. And maybe next year I'll complain a little less.
So 2 things. Do you think these rules will stay in place, or is it going to upset so many viewers that they kind of stop watching and it forces the hand of the MLB?
It hasn't upset me viewing it. There's only been a few times where guys will get called out on strikes because they aren't ready in time, and it's an automatic strike. And I'm like, okay, I don't think you should be able to end a game in
looking
right. So I actually think in the playoffs they should get rid of it, because there's big moments. Like sometimes you need like a timeout. There's no shot clock. Basketball has a shot clock.
Yeah.
You know, so they're going to work on it. They're going to tweak things. They've already been tweaking things, but they're trying to make a buck. My counter to it is, if you're trying to make money and the games are shorter, doesn't that mean you have less time to play ads?
Advertisements, yeah.
I'm just saying, doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but okay.
I think that's the only reason that WWE Raw is still 3 hours every Monday, because it's like, well, we're not going to get rid of that hour of advertisement. Are you crazy?
Yeah. Yeah.
My second thing, go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, the guys are going to keep wrestling through the break anyway, and you come back and the match is still going. They know.
Yeah. The last thing I wanted to bring up on the baseball tip was an embarrassing story of me playing baseball as a young lad.
I remember playing baseball with you.
I hated it. I hated it so much. I was deathly afraid of the ball. I would purposefully try to bring my strike zone down as short as I possibly could. And the ump's like, son, that's not going to help you. Like, you need to stand to the plate. But I remember I had just gotten these new dope cleats. And this is when, like, metal cleats started to become accessible, you know? And I'm like, yo, like, I'm going to run so fast. They have no idea. If I can only hit the ball. If I can only hit the ball. So I remember I kept dropping my strike zone, and finally the ump's like, all right, walk. He just lets,
lets
me go. Yeah, he probably felt bad for me. I was so afraid of the ball. So I get, the next hit, I get to second, I get to third, and we get a hit, and I bolt it towards home as fast as I could in these brand new cleats. And dude, I was hauling ass. I thought I was the fastest on the field. And my is it your coach that's in baseball, or is it the manager, whatever? Coach. He's like, slide. I'm like, this is my moment. I'm gonna slide into home plate. I'm like, and I go to hit the deck. And as soon as I hit the deck to slide, skirt, the cleats dug right in. And I got stuck about 4 or 5 inches from home plate, just stuck immediately. And I got tagged out. And then the kid playing catcher, he goes, whoa, wait, you can't wear those here. Those aren't regulated. And I ended up getting thrown out for wearing metal cleats.
He got tossed.
Dude, he said, you're out of here.
Oh, man.
I was so embarrassed, but dude, I was humming so fast, and it was just like a scene in a movie, and then it was just got stuck as soon as I hit the ground.
It's like Willie Mays Hayes. Come on. Tag, you're out.
You're out. Yeah, so that's
It's been good to catch up, man. It's felt like, every time you miss like a day or two, I feel like weeks go by. I'm like, wait, we were supposed to catch up on Sunday. Everything's off.
And I'll call you on the way home from work, and it's like, all right, I'm going to be there in about an hour, and and then it's like, you're not going to believe what happened to me today. Wait a minute. I'll save it for the show.
Wait, I can't say anything. But stay on the line. So actually, no, I can't even ask you anything. All right, just hang up.
Yeah, man. Can you believe 12? This is episode 12. How crazy is that? 12 consecutive weeks.
A dozen, baby. And it's just like clockwork, man. This is what we do.
Yeah. This has been so cool. Well, anyhow, for Dave, I'm JR. This has been Hanging with Homie. Thank you for listening. We'll catch you next week. And remember, it's cool to be you. Peace.